Oh, hello. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Aqua Experience. Today, we're going to be joined by Joseph from JH Aquatics, which is going to be pretty cool. He's just had a massive move and moved in with another of the Fish Fam members. So I'm sure he's going to have a bit to tell us soon. He's running off and getting a coffee as we speak. So I thought I'd jump in and say thank you to everyone that's here and watching. Back in the chat, GRB, always count on you to know if the 30-minute reminder was received. Thank you. Blake's Aquatics, good morning. Zen Ginger, how are you? Streetwise, how are you? Big City Betters. Daniel Keeping Fish, GRB, Blake, and Daniel Keeping Fish again. And then more Zen Ginger. I'm just going to do the annoying thing that I always do and try and get this up on YouTube as well so that I know things are working. It's very weird how when you schedule something on StreamYard, you can't find the video until it goes live. Oh, look at that. All professional and stuff. I had the mute on so that I didn't get some weird feedback. Patrick, how are you? Anthony Fishy Friends, Jag Deep, how you going? Chris, welcome everybody. Yeah, so for those that are new, which most of you, I see you each week, the Aqua Experience is all about connecting with someone else in the fish industry, in this case on YouTube, and sort of learning where their passion for the hobby began and how it all started for them, what they're up to now, and yeah, just learn a little bit more about each other. So Patrick Joshy Poo, I don't know what that means. So without wasting any more time, I think the man is back. So we will bring up Joseph and say hello.
What's up, man? How are you doing? This is thank you for having me on. It's about time. It's about time that we do this. We've been talking about this for a little while.
Yes. Your video went all funny then and you were like lagging, but now I think you're all good.
It should be good.
Yeah, no, you're good. Maybe it's okay. Maybe I haven't had enough Red Bull. It's too early in the morning.
Or StreamYard. Probably
StreamYard. Yeah, so how are you?
I am good. I'm happy to be in Vermont. It's a totally different environment. I mean, I lived up north this way, kind of. I lived in Pennsylvania, but this is definitely. I missed the winter though. I missed we had it teased us with some snow for a couple of days. So I totally skated by and got here for spring, just in time for hay fever. It's a Claritin commercial. Just in time for hay fever, and I haven't had to deal with that. There's something about it down in the tropical environment. I didn't have to deal with any kind of hay fever or anything like that. That's probably the biggest thing, and getting used to actually being in an 82-degree Fahrenheit fish house, which some people would think that I am complaining, and I shouldn't be, because it's just different. It's culturally different because it's so warm in the Caribbean. If it's 82 degrees outside, you want it a little bit cooler than that so that you can enjoy your home inside. So I ran an air conditioner and I kept my house cooler. So my tanks were about 74 degrees on average. So this is a big culture. It's like a difference. It's a big difference for me. the weather and the allergies and getting used to those are the two biggest things. Besides that, the food is awesome here. I'm so nice to be here with Amber, and she's created a really incredible thing in this house. She's done a lot of hard work here in this house.
I've seen some of the videos. It looks pretty awesome there. And I was just Googling then 82 Fahrenheit. And I'm trying to figure out. So that means you're in America because no one else uses Fahrenheit, do they? And
right.
That's 28 degrees Celsius for the rest of us. So that's pretty warm inside. So your whole house is 28.
Well, we heat the whole house because there's so many tanks. There's no other way. When you have that many tanks, you really just need to heat the whole house. But
so your house is at 28 degrees.
I'm sweating in here. I mean, I have some fans. I have some really quiet fans. I got a fan underneath the desk running, and I have a box fan in the hallway trying to push some air into this room from a distance so it doesn't sound like I'm in a hurricane. I've got a window fan, but I don't know how. That's too loud. I don't want to. Oh, I unplugged it. Never mind. We're not going to go there. Anyways, let's stick to the stream.
My wife would love your house. That's She's always turning the heater up over here. I'll take a question quickly because I just saw Blake has said, Joseph, I'm always impressed by how your setups and your surroundings. Any tips? I think he means like by the lighting, and also some of the, you always work with plants as well as tanks, sort of complementing each other.
Yeah, I think to me, plants obviously complement keeping fish because they are the natural filter for an aquarium. So they go hand in hand for sure. So that's another thing. That's one thing that Amber and I definitely have in common is just our love for living things, but for plants and for both plants and for fish. But yeah, I definitely have a strong thing for aquatic plants and as much as the fish, that's for sure. But I think
the other thing I was going to say is that it's obviously become like a bit of a calling. I can't think of the right word, but like a calling card. It's a thing for your channel with that the blue and the green light background. It's sort of like, yep, I'm watching JH whenever you see it. So I think that's another thing he might mean, but I think it always looks cool too.
But when it comes to the setup or whatnot, in school I was always into theater and lighting and sound. I was always skipping class working on the stage setup. Like I was out of class, I was up on the rafters working lighting and wiring, DMX controlled stage lighting and the sound and all that stuff. So for me, that's one of the fun parts of YouTube for me is the production side of it. So it's just something I just, and these LED lights, you can get these little LED up lights for nothing off of Amazon. They're not going to last forever. They'll break in 6 months, but they look good. But
no, I've always been impressed with the setups, and it does look very professional.
But if he's talking about, I don't know what he was referring to. If he's talking about tanks and stuff, for me, I just try to recreate. Oh, go ahead.
The studio set, sort of like.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought he was going for. I don't know if he was talking about like maybe tank setup designs. Like for me, when it comes to that, is just I go for nature. I'm all about trying to recreate nature because I feel like that's what's going to make the fish happy. And in the end, and obviously Amber and I are trying to breed fish or get fish to breed and spawn first. So we're definitely like mimicking and recreating nature tanks and biotope kind of tanks in an effort to make the fish happy, give them a good home, and get them to reproduce as well.
I've got your wild guppy catching videos running on loop.
I know. I was like, is that me in the background?
Just I like to try and throw the guest. All right. So traditionally what we do with this series is we just start from the beginning. And we've been sidetracked because there's so many things happening at the moment, which is awesome. And it's refreshing as well to sort of just go all over the place at the moment. But we'll start at the start. So you did you say you grew up in Vermont and then you...
No. I was born actually in Colorado Springs, in Colorado. What's up?
No, you go. Yeah.
I was only there. I only lived there for the first couple of years of my life. My parents were adventurers themselves, and they got into the pet trade. So I had an interesting childhood growing up in Mexico, in Central America. It was my parent, in the back seat while my parents were traveling across Central America, all the way far south, almost to Panama, just to collect mostly iguanas, sometimes tropical birds as well. So they worked in the pet trade. It was very interesting growing up with that as a child, and then experiencing that as a child, and then to grow up and have my own views as an adult on nature and wildlife. And I might not actually condone necessarily some of the stuff from my childhood. I mean, I'd have to say that my parents could have very well been part of the cause of the influx of the green iguana in North America, which is it's an invasive animal. It's not supposed to be here. We brought it here. Pet trade people brought it here. So I think by having those experiences, I think it has something to do with where I'm at today. My father was a fish keeper, saltwater, freshwater. I grew up with tanks in my house all through my childhood. And even just I remember as a kid just seeing the brine shrimp. I was one of my favorite, just seeing the food tanks and looking at the live baby brine shrimp tanks as a kid in the corner. I was like, that's cool. Like the fish are cool, but look at all these over here. I just remember those are things that from my childhood that I think helped get this going and get this passion going inside of me. I'm waiting for him to come back and try to hold that thought.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I'm just trying to hold that thought. So I think in the end, by going through that in my youth and experiencing that, and then maturing and learning a little bit more about nature and having a little bit different, my own views on it. I know I like to be involved, but do something more sustainable and more, the right way for the fish, for ecology, for the hobby, for everybody. There's a right way to do it. I know there's a lot of politics in that, and it gets to be a sticky subject, but I feel like that's kind of where the road that I've been led down, that's kind of where it started from my parents and my youth and growing up around the iguanas and the birds and the trade. And then all the fish tanks as a kid. My father still has like 4 saltwater tanks in his living room right now. He's got a YouTube channel with like 3 videos. So
I didn't know that.
But yeah, no, he doesn't. He's not really he's got his focus on other things. But yeah, so it's been fun to me. This whole adventure at this point. I didn't really, even years ago, I wouldn't. If someone told me that I was trying to breed fish for profit for a living, and working with like endangered rare species, red listed, care listed fish and stuff like, species like that. I just never, I would be like, what are you talking about? I was making pizzas 4 or 5 years ago, slinging dough. So I wouldn't have believed you if you told me that I would be right here, right now today.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind. I mean, I've been following your channel for just over a year, I'd say. So I've seen, when you were working doing the pizzas to moving. But I suppose that's one thing I was going to say when you were talking. Growing up with your parents working in the pet trade, were there times where you're like, okay, so this is how it works, and then you sort of start having a realization going, oh, maybe that's not how we should do this, or was it when you got older and started, getting into a bit more yourself, and you went, oh, I would have done things differently?
Oh yeah, and especially just when you tell people about your stories, as I was growing up, you tell people your stories, and even in high school, I had a lot of hard times because there's a lot of people that didn't believe me. They're like, "You're just making up stories. Like, I can't. You're in traveling in a car in jungles of Mexico collecting iguanas. What? You're just making up stories to be cool." I had to go through that, and then as you got older, you have to deal with like PETA people, animal rights people, and people that just. And then even people that I know today, even Amber wouldn't necessarily agree with it because she knows a lot about iguanas and other reptiles. And in the early 80s, that influx, that migration of the green iguana and other species of iguana into North America caused a lot of problems, and it wasn't done properly. So, I feel like it wasn't my doing, and it wasn't. I don't know what effect my parents had. I'm not saying they had some drastic major effect or something, but either way, everybody has a role to play. How little or how small, it's different between each person, right? I mean, but I just think I try to take something positive away from my youth, and I try to incorporate that into what I'm doing now. And that's what I love about Amber, is that she has the same views in that. And when it comes to, a lot of the fish we both want to work with are probably rare or protected or endangered. And it's part of it is just we care for the fish. We care for the fish. We want to preserve the genetic. We want to preserve the species. Some stuff we can't do now because we do have to breed fish that will sell to pay the rent and pay the electric bill. But the stuff we want to breed and keep might not. That's another story. Some rare. Yeah,
I find that too. Like a lot of the fish that I don't breed as many fish as you, or as many fish as a lot of people, but the ones that do breed, they're pretty easy to breed and they're not easy to sell. So I've always thought about that, but I've never gone as far down the path as you and Amber have. So when you're growing up and you're traveling so much, it's not easy to have a fish tank. So when was your first fish tank, and what was the first setup and fish that sort of started this whole thing for you?
The first fish tank that I can remember that was actually like, I would say mine, was a tank that, that my dad set up with me in our bedroom. Between me and my sister shared a bedroom, and when we were young, and so my parents were into birds too, so there was birds in this room at the same time. It's just part of the memory. And the birds, I don't like birds. I've had too many birds in my childhood, and from the hobby, from the pet trade. I'm not gonna say I hate birds, but I truly dislike them. They're annoying and they make a mess, and they're just annoying and they're loud and they're very emotional creatures. Anyways, anyways, I digress. So we had this little tank in between us, and it was like, I think it was about a 20-gallon tin, and that was 20 gallons. And my father, I can't say that my father knew what he was doing either. We had goldfish in a 20-gallon aquarium, like 6 goldfish, and they just slowly died one at a time. I remember that. That was, and it, you know, that was a rough one as a child. But at the same time, it's also a learning lesson. And then as you get older, you realize what you did wrong. If you know, but yeah, that was my first aquarium. And then I think a lot of the aquariums that I remember from my youth, from my very young ages, was obviously my father's aquariums, like his saltwater tanks and his freshwater tanks, and then his friends that were also in the hobby and in the pet trade. And we'd go over to their houses, and I'd get to see all these things. So those memories definitely stuck with me. And you know, there's one very fond memory from my youth of a little tank that my dad had in the living room. I think it was just a 5-gallon. He had some little nanofish. I don't know what they were. They maybe were like some crabensis or not. I'm not sure what they were for sure. Pseudomugals, I think they were. Anyways, but they made a little nest and they were spawning and they had little babies. And I think I was 6 or 7 years old. And I'll just never forget that. That was like a moment where I was like, this is cool stuff. Like to see fish breed for the first time and to see a little baby in a little divot of sand, this little school of fry. I think that's one of those moments that just got the passion in my heart for fish keeping.
Jimmy Gimbel's here. Hello. He said, is that the fish
what is up?
Nice. Yeah, I know what you mean. I remember my first tank, I was like about 8 years old, and my son is almost that age now. And we set up a tank for him a few months ago. And we just had a little air pump running a sponge filter. And it's kind of like, is that going to keep him awake? Is that annoying? And for me, it went straight back to my childhood. Like, I remember that noise being in my room. And
right.
The most annoying noise, but it brings back memories.
Oh, it's really interesting, actually, you bring that up because Amber and I are putting a tank in a 75-gallon tank in the bedroom, and it's probably the only tank that we're actually going to put a hang on the back and an air pump on it and have a hang on the back. And it's actually it's something that Amber wants to do, and I totally get it. It's actually a soothing thing. It's like that white noise because the rest of the house we do no filters, no air. It's silent and it's nice. But there's something about that white noise at night, like having a fan going. So we're going to have a hang on the back on the 75 in the bedroom just to kind of give us a little trickle of water and some white noise for sleeping.
Because other than that, you only run sponge filters?
No, nothing. Plants.
You don't run you just use a plant. That's, yeah. I was talking to Kendall the other day, and we're talking about favorite filters, and he's like, all of his tanks, he only uses sponge filters.
I got a sponge filter on this because I set this tank up last night. If you saw the video, I put out a video at 6 o'clock. I'm been going hard. I don't know if I'm going hard, but I'm going on YouTube is what I'm doing. And
all right, so tell us about when you're living down in the Caribbean or Caribbean, however you say it. What brought you down there? And I mean, that's where I saw everything from the start of the start of me watching JH Aquatics. That was your setup. So what were you doing down there? And also then what possessed you to move back home? I think I know the answer to that, but yeah.
Well, first off, what possessed me to move there was my childhood from growing up in Central America and having those experiences of being in the jungle as a kid and riding on the back of donkeys and going to the beach like every day and living off of like mangoes and iguana soup and all that kind of stuff. So having those experiences from my childhood and living in the temperate zone, I think that's what first off tempted me to leave the United States or the mainland and go down to the Caribbean and try to, I think even at that age, I was really rebellious almost. I was ready to like go to Cuba or like hit South America and never come back, like go expat, do that, become an expatriate. But, I've grown up since then and I've gotten smarter. But so that's what got me there. Plus I went to school. After high school, I went to school to be a massage therapist. And so I had gotten a job before I even got there. I had lined up a job with a resort to be a massage therapist at the resort. So having a job opportunity, it gave me the perfect excuse to just take off. And I was 20 years old. And then I kind of never looked back I didn't look back for 20 years.
That's fair. It seems like a place to be.
I cheated. I feel like I cheated. I feel like I cheated because I feel like I kind of goofed around a lot. I'll be honest, but I enjoyed myself, but I feel like I could have been a little bit more productive in those years.
So I haven't actually seen the videos, but I heard that you ended up going on a trip with Aquarium Co-op to, it's escaping me now. Where did you go?
Yeah, it wasn't this aquatic experience. I think it was the aquatic experience after this one. The next year, so 17, it was 18. I was doing an interview actually where it started out as I was doing an interview with Dwayne Kitchell. I was doing the hashtag FishFamNews, and I was about a year. Well, yeah, this is my second year of YouTube, and I was interviewing Dwayne, and Dwayne was talking about his trip that he was going on this trip with Dean Tweedell and Corey McElroy, and they're all going to Peru with Go Wild Peru, which is an expedition company in southern Peru, and so, you know, in that interview, I was like, I remember saying in the interview, if you watch it, I'm like, oh, I'd love to get on that bandwagon. I think this was my quote, what I said. I don't know, but I was like, I'd love to go on that trip or whatever. And I started talking around. I think Bob Steamfot was supposed to go, and for some reason, he wasn't able to go. And I talked to him. I was like, can I have your spot? And he's like, yeah, it's not for me to give the spot. It's like an open thing. Like anybody can pay and go on this expedition. And I was just like, oh, okay. I was like, well, I'm going then. Like, if there's nothing stopping me and nobody's going to tell me no, why wouldn't I go? So I worked my keister off, and I got a second job on top of pizza, and I was painting houses, and I saved up all the money, got the plane ticket, got everything. I probably put about $5,000 into that trip, $4,500 into that trip, and I went. Yeah, and it was an incredible experience. A lot of knowledge about fish collecting, and just South American species, and
How long
fun stuff. I think it was 14 days. I think we did, you know, and obviously it was just took me back to my childhood too, just hanging out in the jungle, just cutting through the jungle with a machete and looking for fish. The crazy thing was, it's one thing to just be stomping through the jungle as some guy stomped through the jungle, but for us fish people, a lot of these spots, the water is, you could find literally, you know, South American killifish in little puddles of water in the rainforest that are about 2 or 3 inches deep. So we're walking through this stuff, and we're thinking, you know, it's the same time, it's like we want to tiptoe through it because we're there for the fish, and they're everywhere. You don't know where they're at. It was really kind of a crazy experience, but yeah, it was fun. I'm glad I went. I'm glad I decided to just not let anything stop me. I think that's one thing I would tell people is just, if you have a dream or something you want to do, just work hard, make the money, grab onto it, and do it.
Just make it happen.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's exactly what I want to do. And there's some people up in far north Queensland that do something probably not as hardcore, but to go up there and to see a lot of the rainbows and pseudomoguls in the native environment and go through and just learn as much as possible about it. When you're over there and you're finding these fish and stuff, what's sort of, other than education and the experience, what's the sort of end goal? What do you do with the knowledge that you learn from those fish? Is it about conservation? Is it about farming? What's the...
Well, I think if for anybody to go on one of these kind of trips and to drive through the mountains, you're going to see the bad stuff that's happening there, not to be negative on the stream, but you're going to see the bad stuff that's happening, illegal gold mining, palm plantations, all that kind of stuff. You're going to drive by it. And I'll tell you what, there were some emotional moments in the car where we were all really quiet because we were driving by things, and it hurt because we care about the fish and we care about nature. And to see the rivers running red from the silt and the iron from trying to collect the gold and all these different things, it was definitely, that hits you first. So I think one of those, that experience of going there, the beauty of the place, and then to get hit with what things the government is allowing to have happen and letting things get people get away with and stuff. And it makes you feel like if you know how to keep a fish and breed it, that you have a responsibility to maybe try to do something if you can. So, you know, there's places like where I collected the blue tetra that I have now. There's not very many people that will ever probably collect from those locations again. And by the time people have a chance to go to these spots, the waterways in those areas are going to be polluted with mercury and stuff from the chemicals they use to
They can make gold.
separate the gold. Well, they shoot the water and they use chemicals. They shoot like high pressure water, and I don't know what they call it exactly, but it's kind of like strip mining, but it's not. But they turn up all the water, and you can just see the rivers just running red, and it's really kind of it's sad to see it when you're driving in, because you look one direction and it's like beautiful and green, and there's literally water just coming out of the side of the mountain, like waterfalls just popping out of nowhere. And then you turn to the right and you look down below and you see like you're like, why is it red? Oh, because of the illegal gold miners. And they're all from China. They're all from Asia. They bring their money in and they take all the gold back to Asia. It's not even just their own. They pay off the government to get away with it, and then they take the gold and the wood back to Asia, and they make furniture out of it, and they make jewelry out of it in Asia. Yeah.
So we
go positive again. Let's get positive. Sorry.
No, it's good. Like, hey, the world is. This is it. Like learning these sorts of things, because as we were talking about this Total Tropicals TV, Jason, how are you? He's the one that sort of reached out and said we'll do a trip, and they do these trips up in Queensland. So I think Blake and myself have both said to each other,
nice.
All this craziness stops. Let's go do it. I don't know if I think might not be as many negative aspects, but there also probably will be. I know some fish up in Queensland are, facing extinction just because of developments around the areas and the introduction of invasive species, or just species that are competing, against them. So they're all the things that are really interesting to learn. And then, as you said, you actually brought some of was it the green tetras?
The blue tetra it's actually a nano blue tetra. It's a dwarf blue tetra, Titocharax tambapatensis. And I did get some other fish. I had some other fish that Dean had brought back a chunk of stuff, and he shared some stuff as well. So for me, I only wanted the blue tetra originally while I was there, while I was collecting, because for me, I was very serious about whatever I bring back. I have a responsibility. I feel like if I bring it back, I have a responsibility to maintain this fish, to get it to spawn and breed for me, and create a colony of it. I'm not just going to pull it out of the wild so that it can just like die over time in my tank. Like, that doesn't seem right to me. And I mean, that's each their own. That's just where I'm at with things. And everybody has their own opinion. It's not like I have to be careful how I say it. It's not like, I don't know. It's a very touchy subject when I start wording it that way, because people buy imports every day. But the thing is for me, in my position there, if I was going to go pull something out of the wild, I feel like I wanted to breed it. So I was like, everybody's like, you want some of these? You want some of these? You want to bring some of these back? And I'm just like, no, I just want those blue tetras. As long as I get 25 blue tetras back to the U.S., I'm good. Like, that's cool with me. And then so Dean was like, come on, you want some other stuff. So he hooked me up with, I have the Imperial Tetra. I have 7 of those still, and they're healthy. They've been medicated and QT'd, and they've already been spawning since they've been here. So I'd like to get those out and available for people too. And those are all wild caught. All 7 of those we collected in that trip 2 years ago, and they're still alive. I have a lot of the blue tetras. I have about 200 plus blue tetras because I was breeding those in multiple tanks. And then I have a couple of random other fish. I have a bumblebee catfish and a couple of things I brought back, but that were just like randoms. He wanted me to hook me up with some stuff I was like, I felt bad for it. It needed a good home. He didn't sound like he cared much about it. I was like, well, send it to me then. I'll take care of it. I'll give it a good home. It's like a bumblebee catfish. Yeah. A couple other things like that. But anyways.
No, that's fair. So we're back at the mainland, and you have how many fish tanks in your living room?
Well, okay. So back at the mainland. Oh, wait. Oh, you mean since I've come up here?
Yeah.
Or when I was in the Virgin Islands. Oh, I thought we were still.
I always think of America as the mainland, but I am not geographically proficient in.
Oh, the mainland. No, but I was thinking about the. I don't know where we were at with things, but I was.
I'm going a bit all over the shop. So you were living in the Caribbean when you went through, and then you've come back to the Virgin Islands with the blue tetras. Is that right?
Yeah, and even while I was down there, I really didn't for many years while I was there, I didn't have any fish tanks. And then I had this one large 3-bedroom house that I was renting, and I had the lease. I had people renting rooms. It was kind of like, it was a show, I'll tell you. And I used to be a music I used to work with bands and bring musicians in and stuff from the States and set up tours. I was like a tour manager and a booking agent, and so I was like the band house on island. So it was there was
Is anyone
stories.
counting this? So masseuse, pizza maker, band band booking agent.
That's why my email address is what it is. But anyways, so so I had a couple fish tanks I had a fish tank in my bedroom, a 10-gallon, and that was when I started to get into like aquascaping. And it was still kind of early in the aquascaping game even at that point, and I didn't really take it crazy, but I was just like, I'm going to take the plants seriously and think about where I put them. That's pretty much what I was doing. I was scaping it. And then I started going to the pet shop, and they had the styrofoam tubs there, and I would go in there and I would get them for free, with the fish came in the big styrofoam boxes that they were shipped in. And I would add plastic liners into them, and I put them in my living room. And I was like breeding guppies in my living room in these styrofoam coolers with black plastic liners in them. And I had like pothos growing out of them and stuff like that. And then it just eventually down the line, years went without any tanks. And then I had a nice apartment, and it started with the 29-gallon, and I just went up and up and up. And I think after I did the 29-gallon, and I did the rack that used to be in my living room in the Caribbean. And that's when I built that rack, and I was looking at it all, and I was watching YouTube videos, and I was on Corey and just Dustin and other people, Rachel. And I was like, I should start a YouTube channel. I was just like, I should share this with people because other people are doing it. And that's kind of where the YouTube thing started, though. It was all started with just those like 5, 6, I had 7 aquariums in the living room. And my girlfriend at the time was not really into it, and she didn't want it to look like a science experiment. So that's why I had taken the time to build that wood rack with the little windows to keep all the lights out so that we still looked nice, so I wouldn't hear anything from her. And I was successful at that. And then at a point, I just started to take over the whole house with tanks, and that was part of the beginning of the end of it. Is taking over the whole house with tanks, And then I'm trying to complete the whole story here, and that's when and that's when, not this year, but the year after this, I say this because this shirt was given out at the Aquatic Experience, I believe 2017, and then I believe so, right? And I think it was 2018, the Aquatic, and that's when I met Amber there at the event. And I remember her and the shirt she was wearing. I remember her backpack because she's completely unforgettable. And yeah, the whole thing. And that was the beginning of all of this, really. And it kind of, changed my whole life. No, and that's what brings me here to Vermont. Anyways,
I was going to say, when did the channel start? So obviously you were watching other people on YouTube. You sort of had that set up, and you went, "Hey, I can do this too. I've got stuff to share." And then it's gone pretty well for you. Like, you've got a lot of subscribers now, you get a lot of views, you get a lot of people to your live streams. It's too early for me most of the time, but if I wake up early, I'll jump in.
Yeah, I think I pushed really hard in the beginning. I felt like I had a master plan, and I pushed really, really hard in the beginning. And then I've taken breaks, I've calmed down, and I've seen the effects of that. YouTube is not nice. It's very, very, they're not very forgiving. So you have to pay the price. It's just like anything in life. It takes a lot of hard work to get there. And if, the people that get there, just like any athlete, the guy that gets the gold medal, he worked for it. So anyway, it's definitely a grind, and it has its ups and downs. And some, I think at the end, what keeps me around on YouTube, because my biggest passion right now, I love YouTube, but it's in the end, it's what Amber and I are trying to build in this house. That's really what it's about. Oh. I'm trying to figure out which video he's watching in the background of me. I can't tell which one it is.
Sorry, got people coming and going.
Is that my original? That's my first fish collecting video with that hat on in the backpack.
Playlist.
Oh yeah. That was the first that video was my first like big video and got me all excited.
It's
But
definitely
anyways,
that's something that I want to bring to my channel a little bit more, getting out in nature and seeing the environments. And yeah, it gets a bit tricky because where I live, it's really cold. So a lot of the fish that keep in aquariums, there's not many fish from Victoria that you can keep in an aquarium, but there are a couple. So it's sort of finding the right groups that you can go on these sort of trips with and learn a bit more about what is around here, and then try and replicate that in the tank. Like when you had Lucas down and you guys went for a couple walks, and he was setting up the little, what was it, like a 5-gallon tank, and he was just using
10-gallon. We were hiking with a 10-gallon glass aquarium. And I told him, he's like, I'll carry it the whole way. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, all right, I am going to hold you to that, Lucas. I mean, I was carrying other stuff. I ended up being his side, his, what do you call that? A PA? I was his personal assistant, or a production assistant, to be correct. Yeah. Production assistant. But I was helping him with, stuff in the camera and holding things, pretty much like hold his towel on his camera while he's filming, which it was fun. It was fun. It was fun doing that. It was fun going up through places that I know like the back of my hand. It's just like hanging out in my backyard kind of feeling. It was nice to see someone else really enjoying and going, wow, this is really cool. Because it's not, it kind of reminds me, yeah, you're right. It is really cool. I've kind of gotten spoiled and used to it, So I think the last time I went to the beach and went swimming with the turtles was with Lucas in that video when we stayed up. His last night, we stayed up all night and we took the rental car and we took off to the beach and earlier in the morning, waited for the sun to come up and went swimming with the turtles.
I know. I actually remember that day because that was the day you're like, yeah, I'll jump on and do your Aquamate experience. I was like, really?
That was the night before. That was the night after he changed the name of his channel. He did that in my living room.
Oh, really?
Like 2:00 in the morning. I think you guys were streaming and we were all on the stream, right? Me and him were both in the stream and we were all, anyways, we're getting all stuff. We were all like chatting and talking stuff and talking smack. And like, he was like, I'm going to change my channel name. And he made it like, it's all really long now. He's like 13 words. I don't know.
I love it. The best decisions are made at 2 in.
I know, right? I was like, don't blame this on me later, Lucas.
No, that would be cool, swimming with turtles. It actually inspired me that I grabbed a tank and we were going camping about 2 weeks after that came out. And I'm like, I'm going to try and do that up on the Murray River. And I got right down to finishing packing and it was, I can't remember. I think it was the barbecue or the fish tank that would fit on. And unfortunately, everybody else voted for the barbecue. So I was like, all right, I won't be able to do it this time. But I did like that idea, and I like it gave another perspective to sort of look at nature and then be inspired by nature to do escaping, which is something that you just said before. That's what you always try and do and have those natural looking tanks.
Well, I think, and that's the really awesome thing about going to places to collect the fish is you get that hands-on experience. You get to swim in the water and see exactly where they came from. And, it makes it a lot easier to recreate that, obviously. And in an aquarium, that's the funnest thing for me was to get to see like, wow, this is really this is what they like. Especially one of the most interesting environments that for me was where we would find the Weissmanni Corridora. It was really it was always the same exact way, and that was like the only place you would find them. And it was these little side streams off of the big rivers that were dried up in the dry season. This was the time we were there. So the little side creeks, that were still running, the little bit of water on each edge of these big, they're like a half a mile wide rivers, dried up, just a bunch of boulders. And we'd walk along these little side creeks, and there would be all of these rocks, these big boulders that were covered in minerals. Like they were almost like copper. They were metallic. They had this metallic shine to the rocks, and it wasn't the rock itself because you could flip it over and it was fine on the other side. It was only on the surface of the rocks, which was really weird. And then there was sand. It was just like big boulders and this nice fine sand at the bottom of the pools along these creeks, and that's where the Weissmanni corridors were, and they'd just hang out. And then for safety, they'd go under the boulders or under the bushes along the sides. They were the hardest fish out of all of them for us to catch were the Weissmanni. They are not stupid. Obviously, they are smart little fish, and they all work together. They like to stay in groups. Well, we were seeing them in groups of about 5 to 7, maybe 10. And then as soon as we messed with them, they would split up into groups of like 3 and 3. And it was like, oh man, it would start to make you mad. It would make you mad because you're like, oh, I got 3. And then they'd split up. 2 would go this way, 1 would go that way. And you're like, you never know what to do. They make it hard. Anyways, I think altogether, I think we caught maybe 8 the whole trip. 8 Weissmanni the whole trip.
Well, sorry, I was just reading Maple Street Aquatics. Yeah, Victoria, Australia. Murray Rainbows are local to, or a couple hours away, and Murray cod. So, and all the Murray species, they're the ones that I know. But there are a few rainbows that live down here too. It's very cold.
Oh, really? Right. So the water temperatures. What are the water temperatures?
Oh,
it's gonna be like.
I don't know. To be honest, where I am, the only fish that I've seen are, I think, redfin and just mosquito fish, which I caught. Me and my son had a little bit of fun.
Gambusia, Gambusia mosquito fish.
I'm not sure. I don't know my mosquito fish properly, but I know that they are an invasive species up further north. So I don't know if they can survive in such cold water. But like where I am, it gets down to like 1 degree at night. But in summer, it's a bit hotter here, so it can get up to like 35, 38 degrees here. So, yeah, it's very, very seasonal. We get Melbourne, they always joke and say you get 4 seasons in one day because you'll get up, it'll be raining, and you'll put a jacket on and you walk out and it's cold, and then all of a sudden the sun comes out and it's...
Well, that happens, and that can happen places like we were talking about, me and Amber and I were talking about that just the other day, just about parts of South America and just places where people worry so much about water temperatures, but a lot of these fish, things fluctuate and daily they fluctuate. Yeah. And even with that, the pH can fluctuate a little bit sometimes, but more than anything, I mean, these fish are used to daily temperature changes. They are, of 5, 6 degrees or more sometimes, or more, even more. I mean, more, but even places where we're at in Peru, you could tell just different parts of the day, morning and at night, the water temperatures were different.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's sort of going back to what you're saying about with the cories, that to see native fish in their native environment, to see how many of them do stick together. You said they're all sort of in groups of 7 or whatever, and then
they're just smart. Yeah. They know what's up, and they love to split up on you. And then it's right there. It's like, where do you go? Which one do you catch? What do you catch? I didn't catch one Weissmanni. Too smart for me.
It's eating you up inside, isn't it?
Oh, that's another thing that's another thing. I guess that's another thing about fish collecting is just like fishing, right? If you're a fisherman, you have a bad day. It's not a good thing. You go home empty-handed. When you go fishing, it's the same thing. Collecting fish is just like you're out there for hours and you're rolling boulders looking for placosk, and your hands are starting to bleed and they're cold from the water, and you haven't found one placo, and you've been out there for an hour and a half rolling boulders, 2 or 3 people working together with a net trying to find these. It can be a little bit like, okay, let's just keep going. Oh, is it time for lunch? Oh, okay.
Well, that's what I was thinking was that when you do find them in the native environment, that it's got to give you some inspiration for what you do if you do have that species in a fish tank. Like, for example, if you see fish that are liking certain plants and you're like, oh, I'm going to chuck something else in there instead, it helps inspire to keep your fish happy, and that they like that sort of environment. So if you can replicate it, A, it's better for them, but B, I think it's more interesting to us as fish keepers, and even your guests when they come around and go, oh, why have you got it like this? Like, well, that's what it looks like, in their native habitat. Yeah. Zeshy Rabbit, how are you? Craig said something in Melbourne, if you don't like the weather, just wait 10 minutes. Blake's Aquatics, redfin are non-native and invasive. That's correct. So I've got invasive redfin and mosquito fish in the little dams and stuff around here. That's why I sort of struggle a little bit about what is actually native to my area, because I know everything I've caught or seen has not been an actual native fish.
Right. Well, and I just set up this tank back here behind me yesterday and finished it off this morning, and it's got local hardscape that we collected. Amber and I collected about 2 weeks ago.
The slate.
But yeah, the slate stone is really cool to have so much of it around here to play with. And I had fun with this tank to just mess around with it. We'll see what happens with it.
Looks cool. I watched it.
Oh, thanks. But the thing is now I wanted to really put local plants in. It's not going to be as easy as I'd like to just find local aquatic plants. Probably going to end up going with some kind of, some kind of vallisneria, some kind of a grass and some dwarf grass in the front, maybe.
You said in the video, you were like, let me know what plants you should put in there. I'm thinking about putting something local. But when you said that, I was like, I could imagine a little Anubias jungle behind it would look really cool. But you're thinking
that's the only thing I have. It's funny. I didn't want to do Anubias because I wanted it. Well, for one, I would like to try to create more of a biotope that would be realistic to here because of the slate. I would like to make it a Vermont kind of biotope. So if I can't get the proper plants, I'd like to find something similar in there. I mean, I don't want to put hornwort in there, but hornwort is local. It's an invasive, I think, but there's a hornwort is found here. There's a couple of things that we do have in the house that are found here, but there are things like they're pond weeds, those kind of plants that, of course, they grow like no. Of course they're here. Of course they're here. It's like duckweed, right? So I could put stuff like that in there. But I'm just holding back right now to just think about it. Plus, I want to let the tank cycle just a little bit here and start adding some life to it, little bit by little bit. We'll see. I'm not gonna move too fast. That's what's nice. After I just take my time, I'll make a better decision if I just take my time on it a little bit. But grass is what I was thinking. Some kind of really, light grass that will grow up.
Hair grass or something.
Yeah. Well, maybe up in the front, but I want like foreground plants. I do want it to kind of have. I was trying to go completely natural, and I decided in the end, it's still kind of like a little bit aquascaped, and it kind of has some depth. So I need some smaller, finer plants to kind of give it that depth perception. And I need, the foreground needs something small. That's what my mind says.
That's good. I'll look forward to seeing how it ends up. So we normally talk for just a bit over an hour here, and I've noticed we did minutes. I haven't even asked you. So what you've come back to America? Where are you again? Sorry,
Vermont.
Yes, that's Vermont, why I said. Yeah, my mind's just bouncing across the room. Sorry,
which is up north. Up north, it's like milk country, dairy country. So a lot of cheese, a lot of milk and eggs, and just all the food is good. I'm having a ball up here, but Amber and I have been kind of talking about this. I'm sorry?
No more iguana soup then.
No more iguana soup. But Amber and I have been talking about this house, and we've been talking about this. We kind of have this, it's the same passion project. We've been talking about this house for a while. And, she started picking around and finding, looking for places that would be suitable for what we want to do. So we picked this place on purpose for the layout, the way it is for fish breeding, our goal is to offer. I'm not trying to make this a commercial at all, because I don't even, more than anything, we're just trying to do what we like to do. And in the end, if it works out, we're going to have a lot of little baby fish that we have to get rid of.
No, it's good. Honestly, that's what we're all here. We're all here to learn and support each other. So whatever you're trying to achieve, I really hope that you do. And it's hard because we're in Australia, so we can't really go, I'll buy some of those unless we find out a way to teleport fish. But
I think our big thing is biosecurity, just trying to create some systems and protocols in this house, like take it seriously, and create some systems and protocols that, methods to maintain all this and have it flow very smoothly. But most importantly, for biosecurity of the fish, to make sure that they're healthy. That's why we're putting together a lab in the basement, which is primarily kind of, I'll be using that space, but I'm gonna kind of take charge of doing necropsies and doing biopsies and stuff on the fish, like looking at the slime coats, looking at the gills if we need to, checking out fecal samples and stuff like that. Just so we kind of, as fish come into the house, they're going to be checked. And then before they go out of QT, they have to kind of get certified and signed off. They're going to get a fecal sample. They're going to get a slime coat. They're going to get checked out before they leave. It's like all in, all out kind of program, protocol for. It's work. It's not hard. That's the thing to me is it's you create a system and protocols and procedures, and it's cookie cutter then, and you just repeat the same pattern. And it's not necessarily hard. It may be monotonous and maybe a lot of work, but once you get it go, my belief and kind of what we're trying to do here, and we're doing a pretty good job of getting it together, but it's to, get it flowing so that it kind of it purrs like a kitten. It roll it. Like a smooth running car is the idea, and in the end, like I said, the biggest goal in mind is the fish, and we always say the fish come first, and definitely just biosecurity and protocols to keep the fish healthy and make sure that the fish goes in quarantine. We check in. I literally take pictures of the fecal samples. I put my camera on my microscope, and I can check the fecal samples. If I see something, I can take a picture of it and just like add it to that fish, to their medical records. Basically, it'll go into their file, and I literally can have a photo of that stuff to keep track of things. That's kind of where we're trying to go with it. We're trying to go like too hard and make it harder than it needs to be, but there's a lot of good comes from taking notes and keeping records. It really is helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when things go wrong, you can backtrack and see what's happened, and then when it's history is repeating, you can go, I know what's
right. Or even just noticing something up with temperature. Why are the fish spawning? Why are they or even like what Amber, one thing, just if nothing else, just keeping track of your spawning cycles, and how many days, like every 14 days or every 21 days that they're going to spawn, and you can start to get a pattern and know when your fish are ready to do, whether or not you should do a water change or not, because they're probably going to spawn the next day if you do a water change or something like that. So you can start to build on to things and learn from what you're doing. Yeah, but notes, I got notebooks. We got notebooks everywhere, Amber.
That sounds like brewing beer. You always
any
write
science
exactly
project
what you did and then label it all, and then at the end you go, that worked, that didn't. And
it's science to me. Anything science. I mean, I've done other kind of stuff like that, or even working with the tissue culture, cloning people. I've been talking to people about getting into that, and it's a very tedious thing. It's very time consuming. And if I want to sell a fish, to somebody, I feel like I have a responsibility to sell them a healthy fish. I feel like I'm not trying to sell people sick fish or just be like, I mean, people should definitely check out their fish and quarantine them and look them over and maybe medicate them if they want to. But I'd like to try to do the work I can on my end to try to offer somebody something that's pretty healthy to start with.
Well, if you've got it all in your living room, like you can have that option to sort of maintain that and stay on top of it, I suppose. Like that's where you can see a lot of fish stores don't necessarily obviously do it on purpose, but they're going to get fish in, they've got to quarantine, then they move them into the tanks, and then they don't know if something's wrong, and then bang. I've gone into a fish store before and gone, I really wanted some Siamese algae eaters. They're like, we just got a bag in, they're over here. I'm like, okay, I'll get 5 of those.
Yep, a really good example of that.
Because I grabbed them before they even got into the tanks in the store, and like didn't know, so the stress that would have been put under, and then they just couldn't cope when I finally
a really good example of that situation, like you're saying, having it there, living there with them, is there's been more than a few times, and Amber can attest to this, that we've been sitting on the couch in the living room, just chilling out for a minute or something, taking a break between projects or whatever, and we're looking across the room at the cichlids, and I'll say something, or she'll see something and be like, that she's beating up the male, like she's beating him up like they have a spawn going or something, like, we got to pull the male, like we got to pull him out, or she's going to kill him. Like if you had a fish room and it's in the basement and you have everybody's in their own situations, and you're upstairs, even if it was a home thing, you're upstairs and you're doing your own thing, or you have a big facility and you're in your house now and you're not even there, and it goes all night and you wake up to dead fish, So yeah, there is something about being that close to them and having being able to have your eye on them in those situations. But there's been so many times just in the last couple of weeks where Amber and I both have been like just sitting on the couch and we're like,
Something's going on.
She's on eggs. She's on eggs in there. You can see she's on eggs. We're sitting across the room and we're just like looking and not even really studying it too hard, but we're just like, wait a minute. Where's the male? Where's the male? Where'd he go? Where'd the male go? He's in the back. And it's like, oh, all of a sudden discover something new. That's one of my things I love about the hobby alone is just being able to just walk up to it or walk up to a tank after not seeing the tank for a couple of days or something and being like, oh, well, look at this, like something new, like you got fry or hopefully it's not a dead fish. But you know.
I'm just picturing you and Amber sitting on a couch and that you don't have a TV. You've just got a bunch of fish tanks going. What's going on here? What's going on over there? Just sitting there watching. What is the cichlid you were talking about before? Because I remember one of your videos, you had a cichlid that they've laid eggs under a coconut husk or something, and you said we've got to move the male.
I had Pistogramma rubrilineata is what I had. Well, that's wild caught. I brought those back from Peru.
Bright yellow and blue.
And I didn't do, and we brought them back. They were wild caught, but the problem is I didn't know. I'll be honest, I didn't really hadn't had any experience trying to keep a group of dwarf cichlids, and they didn't seem as aggressive. They didn't seem so aggressive like an African cichlid or something, but I wasn't paying attention like I should have, and some of the males, the alpha males, were starting to just pick off people one at a time, and I didn't even see these fish as they were disappearing because there's enough shrimp and snails in the tank to make things disappear so quickly. That was a really big learning experience about even dwarf cichlids. I was thinking, oh, they're going to be okay. They're not like, Africa. They're not going to just like murder each other overnight. And it just happened slowly, and I wasn't paying attention. The alpha males were just holding things down because the way that they handle things, they would, I had too many females with coconuts at the same time, and the male wanted to run everything. There was an alpha male that just wanted to run the whole tank.
There you go. Amber said the ones in the video are the Epistogramma borelli. Is that right? Or borelli?
Oh, in the video recently, if you were talking about something back in the coconut here.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's the borelli eye. Yeah, that's the Pistogramma borelli eye downstairs.
Around the room, and I'm like, okay, I think I'm on the same page.
Nope. I'm somewhere else. I'm not surprised.
Also, Moonstone Aquatics. Anybody have any purchase information on JH Aquatics shirts?
Purchase information.
Buy your shirts. I think you've got them advertised below your videos, don't you?
They're below all my videos. It's if you go to Teespring and you type in JH Aquatics, I'll come up because I made a whole bunch of different shirts like fish related, like different subjects within fish keeping, even just like sub niches, little micro niches of fish keeping. Just to have fun with it. Like I've got some shirts on aquascaping. I have shirts on
University of Neo Caradina or something like that.
Yeah, I got that one. Caradina University, which I own that one. Amber bought that for me, one of my own shirts. But they're fun. I had fun with that. And if there's something fun in there somebody likes, it's always nice.
I'd love to buy one of those shirts.
Which one? This?
Yeah.
This is a collector's.
Yeah, I know. You can't get them, can you?
No, and then there's the yellow one that's also, there was only like 20 of those that are out there, and I got lucky to get one of those. Not this one. Now, and this one was actually, there's a story behind this one because this was the first design. I believe Kasha made this design. She made a lot of them. And then, Kasha and then Priscilla. Priscilla has done like the last two, I believe. But this one was kind of like, there was this, I'll be honest, like within the community, or at least a group of people that were kind of like putting this all together. In the end, it was like, this was kind of rude. We felt like to do it this way because it was like pooping on YouTube. Like to do it this way, it'll be like crossing out you and put fish. And so, yeah, it kind of went against like continuing this kind of style. So this is like the only time it was done like this, and it will never. This was
Just stick it to the man. Damn the man, save the empire.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I get bitter at YouTube, and this is the one I'll wear. Like,
no, it's awesome.
Whatever, YouTube.
Now, how many tanks have you guys got set up there?
Oh no, I think there's like 64 in the living room right now, and then the grow out has 40 something going on in there. I'm not sure. She's going to correct me. She's downstairs. She's cooking in the kitchen. The whole house smells like pickled red she's making all kinds of stuff for 4th of July tomorrow. She's made this
public holiday. Yeah.
She's making food. It's 111 in the kitchen, she said.
111 Fahrenheit.
Yes, in the kitchen.
Jeez, it's like a spa, a sauna.
I don't know what she's got the infrared thermometer. I don't know on what, probably the oven.
Cold-blooded.
I'll tell you what, I'm not used to it, and I'm from the Caribbean. I'm sweating, huh?
All the tubs that she set up outside as well. They look really cool with the even with the Oscars outside in a tub. That blew my mind. Obviously, they've got plenty of room, and
well, eventually they're gonna make their way into 100-gallon.
Yeah,
I believe is what's gonna happen. Yeah,
where I am, where we can do summer tubbing. Blake's the only one that I've seen on YouTube doing it down here. But basically, we have like a 3-month, sort of maybe 4-month window where we can put something outside, but then we've got to be ready to bring it back in.
Well, there's a lot of evidence that the UV light, that the natural light, has an effect on the fish, and I have to say that I've definitely seen that with guppy fish.
As in spawning, or
no,
growth?
is their growth and their color from the UV. But there's no like scientific, something is proven as far as I know, but there's just a lot of evidence of it. A lot of people have shown evidence of just getting beautiful fish. So that was one of the reasons why Amber wanted to put the Oscars out there, is just give them a little bit more natural light, make them more comfortable, give them a little bit more of a natural environment.
Yeah.
Instead of a glass box, because they are big fish like that. You know, they're gonna be a monster fish.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the wild, they don't necessarily, I don't know. They can be a little finicky in a glass box, and you get into big fish like that. It's each their own. But we have some in the kitchen right now, and we're definitely ready to move them into something bigger too. Just because there's only they grow fast.
They are very cool.
They could be a tank breaker.
Thirsty Rabbit's got a whole bunch of them, and I have a 4-foot tank here that I was thinking about changing up and getting an Oscar, but Thirsty made a good point. He's like, if it was a bit wider, you'd be all right, but it's probably just on the verge of going, no, you'd need something a little bit bigger for the Oscars.
Just to move around, especially if there's more of them. Huh? 55, yeah.
Gallon. Yeah. So I've just got some large goldfish in there now, and about 100 endlers.
I believe in the end, Amber's goal is to put the Oscars that we have that are still in the house. They're going into a 300-gallon Rubbermaid grow-out tub in the garage.
Wow, that'd be
so
awesome.
They're gonna get 300 gallons. So that's what they really need and deserve, really, so they can move around and grow. I don't know what's gonna happen with the ones that are outside. I think they'll stay in the 100. Maybe they'll make it into the garage eventually too. I don't know. Amber is she's got all kinds of awesome projects going on here that she started before I even got here. So some of them I just stay out of the way. It's just better that I stay out of the way.
Here we go.
Let her do her thing.
111 tanks.
Well, that's just right now. That's not that's what's got water in them right now. But in the garage, we have, I'm not sure what's in the garage, stacked up in the garage, but that's all going downstairs and will be grow out. And then we'll have a couple of different groups of species, like I think live bears or killifish, betta fish, stuff like that will be down there as well. And then grow a whole room of grow up.
I'm super excited to watch this over the next over the however many years to come, because my wife is supportive of me having fish tanks as long as they're in the garage. But you guys aren't going to stop each other, are you? You're just going to go, yep, I'll find more room. Yep, we'll find more room.
I'm definitely not trying to stop her. She's a little bit. I'm a little bit more. She's more emotional and passionate, and I'm passionate, but I'm more logical. So whereas I probably would go a little slower, she's gonna do it twice as fast and beat me and get it done before I get there, kind of thing. Because she's not gonna she's not gonna wait. So no, there's projects I want to do around here too, but I think the key right now is to just take care of what we have. The fish come first, and
Yes.
Get this machine well oiled, which
Yeah.
is just, it's nothing. It'll never be done. I mean, one of those things in life where it's like, it's always a work in progress.
Yeah.
So there's no, for me, one of my biggest things that I always try to tell people, and one thing that I live by, is that there's really, for me, there's no destination really. I'm not fixated on a destination so much in life. I mean, I might have little goals here and there, but in the end, for me, it's more about the journey. Enjoying all the little fun stuff, even the hard work along the way, the blood, like the sweat and the tears, like even in a garden. I mean, Amber's out there working hard or cutting the grass, and I was like, let me cut the grass, and she's like, no, I like doing it. And it's just like that, even with like fish keeping or doing water changes. It's that hard work, the dirty work, but in a way, you got to embrace it and enjoy part of it too, because it's part of the journey, and it's all part of it. And it's, if you don't do that, you're never going to be happy, because I feel like nothing's ever completely completed. You're always still working on it. Like this house, we'll always be working on the stuff we're doing here. We're always going to be like fine tuning it. It'll always be an evolution. So just again, enjoy the journey, enjoy the ride the whole way along the way. If you get fixated on like a destination, I don't think you'll be as happy. You won't be happy, because you'll always be worried that you'll never be there. You'll never get there. You know what I mean? You might never get there.
Yeah. What is it? Never be content with being content. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Now tell me about Fish Fam News. You've brought that back. It was an old favorite of the Fish Fam, and you put out an episode yesterday, the day before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I want to even make it better. That's going to be an evolution too. I want to kick that up and just a little bit more as I go. It's like build onto it a little bit. I kind of stopped at one point, and I don't know all the reasons for sure in my head still why I stopped, but there was more than a couple of reasons. And then I was very timid about like starting it again, because my channel has grown since then, and I guess I just feel like I got to be careful. Like a lot of the people that I used to talk about in the news were just people that I talked about in the news from like YouTube. Now I know those people. I hang out with them, stayed at their houses, and then like it changes the game a little bit when it comes to doing the news. And at the same time, I don't want to be like come across as biased, like I'm just talking about my friends or something, people I know. I don't want to be biased. That's never what I want to do with the news. And at the same time, back in the day when I was doing it, people were like, thanks for the shout out. And I was okay with it, but at the same time, in my mind, I was like, it's not a shout out. Like, wait a minute. Like, because for me, I was trying to like in the early days of my channel, I was really trying to scroll through all of these different videos, and I was trying to find stuff that I found was like really well done. Like, did a good job. They're really trying to, it was full of good information, really nice, and I should bring it up in the news. So I guess I was trying to actually, in my mind at the time, I was like, I'm trying to actually create the news. It's not shout outs. It's the news. And I realized, I just kind of let go of that. I realized I was like, whatever, it's kind of shout outs either way. People, I'm letting people, I want people to know about good content that I see. I want to make sure that people
shout out. It's
stuff.
not just, hey, here's a channel, check them out. It's like, for example, I was honored that you put me in there and talked about the fail video, so that if someone's watching that going, I want to see this fail video, that it's a shout out in that you've given them a reason to do it rather than just go, here's another YouTuber or whatever. So I like the whole concept behind it, because you could watch your video for 10 minutes or whatnot, and then go, there's 3 videos. I didn't even know who that is or whatever, but that's a topic that I like watching. So it works that way anyway.
Well, then I would like to do more real news. Like not real news. That's the wrong word. But like world fish keeping news about industry stuff, new species that are being found, species that are just become extinct, or different organizations that are doing positive things. Events coming up. Just kind of make it very more well rounded. I stuck with just the fish community here on YouTube in the beginning. And I thought about doing the news again so many times, and that was, just like pondering, how am I going to do it? What do I want to do different? And I'm not even really ready. I wasn't even really ready this last week, but it was like, I just got to get it out. I just need to start doing it again, and it'll get better. I can't wait. That's another thing I would say to people is a lot of times, and it started with me in the beginning of YouTube, is don't wait for something else to be ready to do something. Like a lot of times people will just like wait for oh, when I get the right camera, when I get the right microphone, I'll start live streaming, or when I get the right this, I'll start making videos, and or another laptop, and then I'll really start making videos. And it's like, to me, it's all just excuses, and I've done it so many times myself. It just, anyways, you know.
It's like building a wall in front of you to stop you from
Yeah.
doing what you really want to do. There's a whole bunch of people really happy that the fish news is back. Zen Ginger has put a link in there.
Cool.
GRB wants to know, are you going to do any more microscopy live streams?
The live streams, that's fun. I feel like it's so nerdy. I don't know how many people want to stick around for that, but if I can find a way to, I would like to incorporate a way to make it a little bit kind of fun, make it a party. So like, I don't know how to say like a party, but yeah, make it fun so that it can still be nerdy and be deep, but also be fun and lighthearted so that it doesn't just get boring and dry, you know, too dry. And so I'm trying to figure out a way to make it. I think that's with all the content. I think with all of us is like, make a video. Don't just make it dry and boring and about the content. You got to make it fun and engaging and entertaining, or people aren't going to watch it. And I guess that's one thing that I struggle with sometimes.
We had this chat 2 weeks ago with so tomorrow we'll be doing a stream with Thirsty Rabbit and Blake and
Nice.
Dr. Black, and we sort of said to everyone, do you want certain topics? Like, because we don't. We sort of just go, what are we up to? Everyone shares what they've been up to. And we sort of just hang out and just be idiots for like an hour. And it's fun. But most people were like, yeah, we like that. That's good. Whereas I've always been worried, if I don't have the topics and it's not planned, is it going, you know, how's it going to work? So sometimes I suppose if you've got guests, it can be more bouncing off each other. Whereas like I haven't written questions for today, but I knew what I wanted to ask you.
Well, I like stuff like you mentioned Blake's Aquatics. I like when he does like the game, when he does like, it's more like a game, like playing around. Like, that's fun and it's engaging. It gets people involved. Everybody has a different opinion. I'll tell you what, I've gotten in more than one fight or argument anyways with Amber over his live stream because everybody has a different opinion of what fish fits where on that list. And I'll tell you what, probably at least 3 times that I can remember, Amber and I have just like, no, but this fish and this and that fish. And I'm like, but Amber, really? And then like, it's like, okay, I'm going to go in the other room now. Thank you, Blake. Thank you so much. But you know, the point is it's
come out of her shell with that. I see like, what do people think of this fish? Everyone's like, oh, B or C, and she's like, F. I'm like, whoa,
yeah. But my point is that's a great idea because it's so engaging and everybody does have a difference of opinion. And when you spark that, you put that out there, you give people a reason to voice their own opinion and gets everybody going, and then you get a little discussion or an argument going. Debate. It's nice. I like people that do like games and stuff, incorporate that. Even one other person that I used to enjoy his trivia was Chris from Multi-Tank Addiction. Just on Sundays back in the day, on the Sundays, I would stick around for that because I would learn stuff about fish in that trivia. They're definitely, and
yeah,
there's an opportunity to learn something playing some of those,
I think the next one that Blake's doing is he's going to rank fish tube channels, so that one will be interesting.
No,
I'm kidding. It would be funny, but
yeah.
Is there anything you want to share with everybody? We're sort of running out of time, but wanted to see if there's anything you want to share with us. What's coming up? What can we look forward to?
Well, for one, we haven't even. I've talk about the grow out room itself. Like, there's parts of the house that nobody has seen yet, and some of the biggest fish room in this house, nobody's even seen yet. It's not built yet out, and we're gonna share all that. That's all gonna come eventually. We're gonna get into that build out and show the process of building out these racks. And for us, money is tight too. So in the end, this is a passion project, and just dumping it into it. But in the end, that grow out room is going to take some time to build out because you can't just build it overnight. It costs money to all the wood and all that for all the racks and stuff. I mean, the tanks are here, but we still need to build out the racks. But I'd love to be able to share that. I want to share that with everybody. Just the process of setting up that space and getting it going, and then once we get the shipping department going, it's like showing. I want to show people kind of how we set up our shipping department. We'd like to do some live streams with while we're doing shipping on a Monday or Tuesday early in the morning, like just live stream and hang out with everybody while we're bagging fish and just show people what we do and be very transparent about what we do and stuff like that. But more live streams, I think, for fun, because Amber and I have some fun ideas, and it's just it is something fun to do. I don't want to drown out my channel with too much streaming. I'm trying to keep up the content. So right now I haven't promised anything. I'm about to say something that I probably shouldn't say. I don't know, but I've been putting out videos for about 5 days straight, and I don't know. Amber and I were joking. She had an idea and was joking around about doing Vlogmas in July. Like they do Christmas in July in America, kind of a joking thing, like Vlogmas. Like they do Vlogmas during Christmas, during December. People do Vlogmas, and they just vlog every day for the month of December. Well, I was kind of talking about doing it for July, and I feel like my channel is tanking a little bit. It's a personal thing. We don't want to talk about it, but I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go hard every day. Why not? Just every day. So we'll see how long it lasts. What's up?
We're our own worst critics when it comes to that. Yes.
Yeah. So I've been putting out content every day for 5 days now, and I'm just gonna keep trying. Just keep putting video out every day. I'm right now for at least for the July. I think I'm just gonna try. I'm doing my best. I didn't want to make a promise because then I'm like put the pressure on, and then it gets heavy. But like, yeah. But I'm gonna do. That's my goal right now.
Every day for a year. What was that?
No. No, we'll go for 30 days here. We'll see how this goes. We'll do. Cool. I started out on the 1st, and we'll just keep going and just have some fun with this. There's so much in this house to share. I could totally do it, and it probably not get too boring. That's my only fear is just washing out my channel with like make a video every day. And if it's like garbage every day, then YouTube's just gonna just throw my channel in the garbage can. Like I feel like I'm almost there already. I can't do much harm. I get bitter on myself. I shouldn't talk like that. But it's only that's one thing too. I would tell people if you are a content creator out there watching this, YouTube is not very it's not very forgiving. It's a hard grind, and if you want it, you gotta grind it away, and you can have whatever you want, but you gotta work for it. That's for sure. There's no handouts, right?
That's like a whole other topic, and that's something that I legitimately, not just saying this to act like end on a good note, but I'd love to have you back maybe later in the year and talk about that side of things, about
the dirty side of things.
Yeah, well, sort of about how you go about making the videos and topics, and like Blake, as soon as he came in, he's like the way he sets up the background and the studio. These are all things that like we're all pushing each other to be better, because we all want to improve, but to support each other like that and then go through that topic. Something that I really love in Swisky, the production value that he puts out. Some of the tips that he's given me, just a real simple tip. I haven't had to buy anything. I've just changed the way I've done one or two things. I've improved a whole bunch of things in my videos. So like that's something I'd love to have another chat about. In the future. I haven't got anything lined up for the next couple of weeks for the Aquamate experience. Give it a couple of weeks rest, and I'll try and find some more guests to join us. So
yeah. Oh, I'm gonna have fun. You're talking about the microscopy thing. I'm definitely gonna be doing more of that stuff because I have no choice. I'm doing it anyways for all the fish. It's happening anyways for just the livestock that's in the house. So I have plenty of opportunities and content and things to look at under the microscope for sure. But it'd be really cool to make it kind of like a fun thing for everybody to hang out and do live. Videos is one thing. I definitely going to be doing content with microscopy. That's one thing because I can make it much better that way because I can edit it up and really share people the important parts. Like sometimes when I'm doing that stuff live, it's a little frustrating because just because I take a sample and I put something on the microscope doesn't mean I'm going to find anything. So it's like fishing, like I might not. It can be like, okay, let's go find something else real quick. I've had nights like that when I was doing it where like I put something on a slide and I was like, I'm sweating and I'm live and I'm just like, oh, I'm not finding anything here. There's nothing here in this water. And then I have to go run to another tank real quick and try to find something else and get it on the slide real quick. It's just not because I don't want to bore people with like playing around with my microscope. I want to give people something to look at. So it's a tough one doing microscopy live. It takes some patience and a lot of nerdy people to keep that stream going. But the microscopic content in relation to talking about different things that afflict our fish, stuff on the slime coat and the fecal samples I'll be doing. When I see something interesting, I want to try to get some film of that and share it with you guys, with everyone. Like this is what ichthys look like under a microscope or whatever. If I see stuff, I want to be able to share it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. David Reed said, I didn't even realize you were releasing all these videos, JH. YouTube hasn't been notifying me. Are they members vlogs
YouTube
or?
doesn't like me.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I've got
I
your
watch my
last
numbers.
3
I don't get.
vlog.
Oh, I'll get people that are subscribed to me get some notifications, but YouTube does not suggest my content. They don't. They let my content run on the people that love me. So my views come from all of you awesome, lovely people out there that truly like me and watch my videos and really enjoy my stuff and like me as a person. But besides that, I feel like no matter how many subscribers I have, besides the love that I get from the actual real community here, YouTube doesn't do much for me. And I've caused that. I've done that to myself. I believe in the end. I'm sure there's something I'm doing wrong. But either way, that's when, like I said, what's kept me here is this community. There's so many awesome people. I've made some really good friends. I've found the love of my life through YouTube. I'm here in the house with her right now. Like this is, there's a lot more that has come from being on YouTube than like
That's weird because on the
getting
screen,
thousands or hundreds of thousands of views on a video. That's for sure.
Yeah. That's weird though, because on the screen you pointed at me when you said you found the love of your life. I'm like, oh, hello.
Oh, I'm pointing out the door down the stairs to the kitchen is where I was pointing. Nothing. She's cooking up a storm down there. Like she's prepping for tomorrow and
That's
all
awesome.
this stuff. She's got she's pickling things. That was a strong one that I caught a whiff of that through the house a minute ago. It's since passed, thank God. Vinegar.
Yummy.
Well, yeah, in the long run, it's yummy, but the whole house just smelled like vinegar for about an hour there.
Well, thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate it. It's been a blast, and
Yeah, man,
there's a whole bunch of stories there that could have just kept going, and just I think that's why I sort of bounced around a little. I'm like, this is good. Should I go back to this? I don't know. So thank you very much. I've just run out of time, otherwise I keep chatting.
Nope, you're good. No worries.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Make sure you've got the notification bell rung for JH so you get all these vlogs that are coming out. But until then, I'll see a lot of you tomorrow during the live stream with Aquamate and friends, and I'm looking forward to the next video.
All right. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. And thanks, everyone. I'll see you all soon.